Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Well, I promised it, we deliver here at Beach FM, and my very great delight to welcome to the program now to review what looks to be a really good movie, Gail Hall. Gail, good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, John. Good morning.
You've been lucky enough to be at the wonderful Shoreline cinema.
I have been very lucky.
Putting your feet up.
Yes, I have been, and I'm very lucky too, John, to actually see a blimmin' good movie.
Yes.
The Good Liar. Now, that's a good name for this movie, actually. So, and it's directed by Bill Condon, and of course Helen Mirren and Ian McClellan. What a combination,
What a
John.
combination.
What a combination.
By the way, if you listen to Beach FM, you probably heard Ralph McAllister on the radio.
I do hear Ralph occasionally, yes.
He's a good friend of Ian McClellan. He can tell you some really good stories about
Truly?
Truly.
Wow. Well, they'd probably be about the same age, would they?
Oh, well, I couldn't
I'm not talking about age. No, but aren't they amazing?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do listen to Ralph's book reviews.
He's wonderful. He's wonderful. And apparently so is Ian McClellan. He used to stomp down to Waikanae dressed up as Gandalf, and say, I demand a latte in the coffee shop.
Is that right? I wish I was on the footpath when that happened.
Let's get back onto the movie, which is the Lies.
The Good Liar.
Or The Good Liar. Yeah. And the slogan here is read between the lies. So is it a bit of a whodunit, is it?
Well, yes, it is definitely a bit of a whodunit. And I must admit, I was, extremely surprised and puzzled throughout this movie. It's really, the listeners or the moviegoers are going to, I think you need to get your Sherlock Holmes sort of hat on midway through.
Oh, it sounds good.
It is. Now, these two, John, as you know, are two seasoned veterans of the movie world. Now, I noticed yesterday it was opening for the season of this particular movie, and there was a good crowd coming into the theatre, and I think these two are really crowd pullers, and they will be, because they're great.
Obvious.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But anyway, the movie does open up in London, and we're in the year 2009, so we're only 10 years out there, and that's the way they've actually said it. Now, we see both Betty and Roy, as I will call them at this time.
Yes.
It's obvious that they're on a dating app on the computer, with Roy ticking the boxes non-smoker with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Ticks non-drinker with a glass of red wine in his hand. So, listeners, that is your first lie. Okay, so anyway, eventually, him and Betty meet for lunch. I'm just going to throw in the mix here that they are both widows, and he's been a widow for 3 years, so he tells Betty, and she has been a widow for 1 year. She's a very wealthy widow at that. They seem to hit it off. They meet again and agree to, continue meeting. But in the meantime, John, we see a very different Roy. This is in a little break. He looks like he's at a meeting with some very dubious-looking characters. In fact, they all sort of looked a bit like the mafia. Now, I got a real surprise to see Downton Abbey actor, the lead butler.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Carson. That's right.
Yes.
Jim Carter. And he was sitting at the table, and I got such a shock because I wasn't really expecting to see him.
He should be serving rather than sitting there being served.
And it was basically, wow, this is a completely different role for him. He was a bit of he's a bit of a con man, and there's this group. And also, I don't know whether you watched that TV series Stella. It was set in Wales.
No,
and there's Mark Lewis-Jones as Bryn. He's another one of these black-suited guys sitting around the table, and he was in a TV series called Stella, and he was very, very good. Now, another of the principal cast, and I'm just going to add at this moment that all of the supporting roles were played really, really well. So,
Right.
you know, the whole movie in itself is really great. Now, he is, Russell Tovey plays Betty's, and I'm going to put that in inverted commas, actually, grandson. He's a bit suspicious of this guy that's just come into Betty's world through a dating app, but I won't mention anything more about that.
So Betty is the Helen Mirren character.
Betty is the Helen Mirren
Right,
character,
okay.
sorry, and Roy, because, you know, they're the principals, and of course
Yes.
Roy is,
Yeah.
Ian McKellen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, they continue to date, but eventually Roy sort of works his way into moving in with Betty, and the grandson is not very happy about that. He feels that there's something else on the menu rather than just being a friendship.
Besides, the inheritance might be in danger.
Ah, well, yes. You're starting to put your Sherlock Holmes and being an amateur sleuth there, John. Now, you do soon arrive at that Roy is a bit of a con man. He's got some wonderful expressions, that man. Wonderful expressions. Now, I think... from watching partway through the movie, and they continue to have this relationship, you continue to see something happening on the side with these men in black, I could call them,
yes.
and some Russians involved, and it's all to do a little bit with money laundering. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
But
So it's not Men in Black as in Will Smith.
no, not Men in Black as in Will Smith. They're actually quite mean dudes. I suppose that's not quite the word for him, but there is a little bit of violence in this film, John. A little bit of violence, and that'll give you an indication of the type of group of men I'm talking about. Now, we do have a bit of a flashback to when Roy was young and Betty was young, so it's a flashback to their time because they wanted to go on a holiday. Roy sort of decides that he might take Betty on a holiday to Berlin, and she wanted to go there, but you actually see a flashback to their younger days, and it actually is in wartime Berlin. Mm-hmm. So that's when you start having to sort of get your amateur sleuth working, because that is actually the crux of the story in a sense. Okay, this movie, John, has got some unexpected twists, and it's very intriguing. Where there's a good con, like you mentioned before, it involves money and lots of it. So we are looking at that, and Betty's always talking about, he said, sort of basically, did you get a loan for that car outside? She said, I paid cash for that. And, and then the eyebrows raise, and also with the house, she sort of makes reference that was a cash buy as well. So you can just imagine Roy's, sort of rubbing his hands a bit. But anyway, I just feel that this was a really good, energetic movie. It released a good energy, and at the end when the credits rolled up, there was immediate discussion amongst the theatre goers. They were obviously talking about this movie, and the lady that I sat next to really, really enjoyed it. So if I say too much, I'm going to give away.
It's
difficult when you're sort of reviewing a movie, because I want people to go and see it, and I want them to work it out for themselves. Because I certainly hadn't right up until the last 10 minutes. An hour 50 movie, so it's a good movie, and there's definitely a good plot amongst it.
And it sounds like a wonderful cast as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Absolutely, they all played their roles. Just the minor roles as well, and very good, very good.
Oh, wonderful. So that is The Good Liar with Helen Mirren and the wonderful Sir Ian McKellen. She's actually a dame as well, isn't she? Come to think
Yes,
of it.
she is.
Yes.
So there you are.
So
You've got a dame and a sir, in the leading roles there.
And it's The Good Liar. It's a good movie, and it's been reviewed by the good Gail Hall. And she saw it at the wonderful Shoreline Cinema.
Wonderful Shoreline Cinema with a lovely drink, a non-alcoholic at this point, because it was, wasn't late in the day.
Yes, indeed.
But it was lovely sitting there.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I'm not at all jealous. Thank you so much, Gail. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, John.
And to you, my dear.
106.3 Beach FM.